This
and the
conference
ISC
will
module,
now be recorded.
based on which you can create the basically the objects, that is connection object and device location. Now, once the connection object is created, we can create the premises, because the device location and connection objects are the objects which are dependent on the connection object. So connection object and device location both are dual object. They are the objects created in ISU as well as the PM module functional locations. The premise is purely what you call ISU data, and the installation is a kind of a virtual data what we maintain for a premise, and it is specific to the division. But in terms of the data hierarchy, you can say it is with the connection object that we start and then maintain all the other data. But in the overall importance of the data, the installation data is the highest level data, because it integrates everything in one place. It integrates the business master data, technical master data, device management, scheduling data. So all in all, a premise and division specific data is what we maintain in installation. And we use installation as a basis for having the contract created in the system when the movement will happen. Okay. So the contract itself is basically related to the installation, and installation is division specific. So premise, installation, and then contract. Installation and contract are basically division specific. Okay. Now moving forward, we will see uh, what are the other configurations we can maintain in the case of the technical master data, what we have seen. One thing we have seen is basically the number ranges, what we are maintaining. But apart from that, what is the other data we are supposed to maintain? Okay. So let us go to configuration and then check out. So go to IMG. Okay, we'll go to IMG. So when you see connection object, we have seen number ranges to be maintained, and also for device location also the number range is common. That means the device object and connection object are having the same number range object, that is functional location. So for that we are maintaining a number range, and that number range will be used for both the connection object and device location. The premise has got its own number range, what we have maintained. Likewise, we'll also have the number range for the utility installation. Now, apart from the number ranges, there are some additional settings what you can maintain for each one of them, but many of them are similar. Many of them are similar in the sense, define search help for the connection object. Here also you can see, define the search help for the premises, define the search help for the installation, define nodes for the connection object, define nodes for premises, define nodes for utility installation, and define field selection for the connection object and field selection for the address. Only in the case of connection object, we have the additional settings for field status for address. But otherwise, in all other objects, it is only the field selection. because the address data is actually captured only in connection object. So whatever address we are maintaining in the connection object, that will be copied to premise and then your device location. So there is no independent control of the field status for the address in the other objects. So it is basically available in the installation level. So looking at this, these are all the similar steps of configuration, what you can do for each object. So if we know the concept in one, the concept will be the same in other object holders, but only thing we are doing specific customization for each object. Now, first let's start with the search help. Define search help. Search help is actually related to the development actually. It's a development object, not a customization object, because usually what we have seen, IMG means basically it's a tool for providing customization activities for mapping the business process into SAP system. Okay, but whatever activities we perform here in the IMG is a result of activity done by the functional consultant, and we are basically doing the adjustment of the control data. We are adding new control data or changing the existing control data. That is activity what we do actually. But otherwise, whatever activity we do, it is not something related to any development. Development is basically the responsibility of the ABAP team, where they do the development in the ABAP workbench. That's the work area for the development consultant. So SAP Search Help, what you see here, is not the activity to be done by the functional consultant. It's a development related work. The only reason why SAP has given here is because it is specifically to be designed for these connection object and device location. Actually, these are called basically search help for any object. For example, if you see customer master, business partner, contract account, we have got a search help. Okay. So for instance, if you go to find out any object, like for instance, CAA2. CAA2 is a contract account, master record, but I need to find out what is the contract account. So I can use the basis on which I can see the contract account. It is giving certain search criteria. It is saying it can be because of contract account name or category or business partner or according to business partner master data. Okay. So you can say there are certain search criteria here. Okay. So this particular information is actually designed using what you call the search help parameters. It's an object basically. Okay. Likewise, business partner, contract account. Similarly, if you go to connection object, okay, when you go to connection object and then change, if you want to search for the connection object, it is having certain search criteria, okay. Like you can see here, it is having certain search criteria like ISU find connection object via address, asset, cost center, uppermost functional location, or structured display. So these are all basically called search help parameters, okay. Now, SAP has already designed the search help for the connection object device location installation, but if required, any additional development needs to be done, it can be done. SAP recommends to use as much as possible the search help what is already provided, because they have taken adequate care to design the search help in such a way it can meet the overall requirement of the search what we are doing. But in case business fails, it needs some additional search help parameters the adapter can develop. So if you go to the search help, select here. Search help is given in many of the IMG steps for various objects in SAP ISU. Basically, it is a development work to be done by the ABAP team. So maintain in the logon language, that is English. Now here you can see search help parameter TPLNR. Okay. This is the main object which is holding all the search help actually. Included search help. The search help parameter is TPLNR. Included search help. EHAUA, EHAUA underscore EL, IFLM. Okay. Now, if you double click EHAUA, again maintain logon language. So then it will show the additional details. Okay, the TPLNR, postal code, house number, city, street. Actually, this particular data we can also see it in the what you call the uh, ABAP data dictionary. Okay, if you go here and then go to search help, EHAUA. Okay, so if you go to SE12, the data dictionary, and search help. Search help is EHAUA, EHAUA, and then display. So search help parameters TPLNR. These are the individual search help parameters. Okay, based on the postal code, based on the house number, city, street, and then functional type. Okay, then EHAUA underscore AL, and then display. Again, TPLNR, postal code, house number, STR number. Okay, so various parameters are given here. Likewise, the last one, that is IFLM. Okay, so IFLM is a bigger search help parameter. So if you go to SE12 and then search help is IFLM and then display. So TPLNR included search help, asset, cost center, uppermost functional location. This is what we saw just now. Okay, so basically it has given the complete search help parameters, search help parameter, and included search helps. Individual search help is designed in the ABAP data dictionary. Okay, and included here. Apart from this, if you need any other criteria by which you want to search the search help, then the ABAP team can develop this. Okay, so this is a basic concept. So there is nothing to be done by us here, by the functional consultant. Knowingly or unknowingly, we must not make any change in this particular area, because then it would corrupt the existing data. Whatever data is already there in the database, it will be corrupted. So just for information, we should be aware there is an IMG activity shown against most of the objects here, but it is something to be done if required by the ABAP team. Okay. Now comes the define nodes for the connection object. Here also we have got nodes for premises, nodes for utility installation. So what is this nodes? Okay. Now if you worked in sales and distribution or you may be aware we use something called text types. Text types are used in SD module. Text types are used in material master, customer master. All the transactions like sales transactions, like inquiry, quotation, sales order, delivery, billing. Okay. So this is something not limited to only utility. The text type or the note type are something used across SAP in almost all the modules. Okay. Only thing in ISU, instead of calling it as text, we are calling it as notes. Otherwise, the basic purpose is same, and the whole development, the whole objects are available under one particular, it is a client level data. It's not specifically for any particular module. It's a client level data. Now, in general SAP, we call it as text type, and in ISU, we call it as notes. But instead of that, note, we can say note ID. Text type, note ID are comparable. And the particular text type, what you want to use, is available under a text object. And here we have something called note object. Here you've got note object. And in a particular text object, you can maintain one or many text types. Likewise, in a particular note object, you can have one or many note ID. And all these text types which are available will be actually available in the object when you maintain. Like for example, if you maintain connection object or device location or an installation or a premise, business partner, contact account, device master record. So whenever you maintain master record, we have a provision to maintain the note. That note is coming because of the note object, which is specifically available for each and every master data object what we are having. And once you maintain the note, it will flow into transaction. For example, if you maintain the note in connection object or device location, that information will flow into your transactions. For example, when you create a PM transaction, because both connection object and device locations are essentially the functional locations which are used in plant maintenance. So whenever you create any notification or service order, these text information will flow into these transactions. Now, what is the example here? Let us say, for example, sales and distribution, we can maintain the text in customer master data or material master data, and they will flow into transaction. Or if you maintain directly the text in the transactions, it will flow from one text, one object to another object. For example, we create in sales and distribution inquiry. If you maintain a text in inquiry, it will flow into quotation. And if you maintain, you can change the text what is coming from the inquiry, or you can add the fresh text into quotation. It will be copied into the sales order. And then from sales order, it will be copied into either delivery or to billing document. So there is no transfer of text from delivery to billing. It is everything has to go from the sales order to billing or sales order to delivery. Example is, suppose for example in the quotation we have various text type, like what is the warranty text type, or payment terms, special payment terms. So these are basically text types. Against each text type you can maintain a text and information. Like for instance, the business is giving a standard warranty of 12 months from date of supply or from date of installation, whichever is earlier. But in the particular negotiation, what you're doing for the customer, when you submitted quotation, as per the importance of the business and the contract or the volume of sales, what you're going to get, we have agreed for a special warranty, saying that warranty will be instead of 12 months, 18 months from the date of the supply or installation, whichever is earlier. Payment term standard is 30 days against delivery, but here we have agreed for 50% advance, 40% against installation, balance 10% against a bank guarantee. So we have agreed for some special warranty terms, payment terms. These are entered in the quotation as a text, as an information. So when you prepare the sales order, it will be copied. It will be approved by the particular sales manager, and then it will go to billing document. So everybody is kept aware, especially it is a final thing what is required in billing document, because tomorrow if any audit objections are there, auditors also can check whether this was approved, whether this was taken care right in the beginning. So we record this information as a text. So text is nothing but how we write in a notepad or a word pad. You can write the information in terms of sentences or in terms of some identification data. That is basically treated as a text. Likewise, in the connection object device location, premises installation, we can maintain the text. So it is flowing into the particular transaction, what is related to it. For example, the notifications in the plant maintenance, if you maintain for the connection object and device location. Now, for every object, SAP will provide one specimen example of a note ID. So instead of text, we call it as note. And for every object, SAP will give one note ID. And that is delivered with some description. We can use the same note ID what SAP has given. If you want, you can change the description. But we can also use that as a basis to create many more note IDs for each object. So if you go to, for instance, the connection object has got a particular note ID and note object. So if you go to the help file, you can find out what is the note ID available for the connection object, note object. If you go to help file, you can find out what is the note ID, okay, for that particular object. So if you go here, define notes for premises, define notes for the connection object. If you go to help file, the object is IFLOT, okay. IFLOT is the note object, which is basically for the connection object. But connection object is basically a functional location, and device location is also a functional location. So IFLOT is a note object which is applicable to both connection object and device location. Similarly, if you see for the next object, that is utility installation, okay, premise for example, if you go to define nodes for premises, here also you can see node object is EVBS. EVBS is for the premises. Now node objects are predefined in the system. They are like container which are storing the nodes. For instance, in quotation header is a text object. Quotation item is a text object. Likewise, in this particular case, the IFLOT is a node object for the connection object, and EVBS is the node object for premises. Now, these are the client level data, and under each object, SAP will give one specimen node ID. So first, you must know what is the node object, then you can find out the node ID. So first, we'll go to nodes. For instance, define nodes for the connection object, change. Here you will see the complete list of node objects which are available in SAP system. Not only SAP system, in the entire SAP system, what we have here. Because in SAP system, we have not only SAP ISU components, but also all the other module components like sales and distribution, GL accounts. So wherever the nodes are applicable in the entire SAP system, for each one of them, the node object will be shown to us. That means it is not specific to only connection object we see here, but whenever you go to node object, you will see the complete list of node objects which are available in the system. But in this particular node object, we have got a node object IFLOT. So if we say IFLOT and then search for it, you will see IFLOT is the node object text for the functional location. Select it and then go to text ID. Okay, instead of node ID, it is called text ID here. Actually, text type is what you see in general SAP, but here it is given as text ID. It is a text ID what is available within the object. So select the text ID. Now SAP will give one standard text ID, LTXT, connection object general nodes. Okay, but you can create your own node ID additionally to what SAP has given by selecting it and copy. For example, we have created Y001, Y002. Let me delete and then add a new one. It's a workbench request. Select it, delete, and then save it. So originally SAP is given the text ID LTXT. Now, if you want, you can also change the description of this particular text ID according to requirement. But if you want to create a new one, you can do that also. So select a particular text ID and then go to create. And then text ID, you can give it as, let's say Z001 municipal details. And then continue and then save it. So if you go to connection object, you will find out both the text ID. So if you go to technical master data, connection object, change. Let us select any of the object. Our maintenance plant is 6001. We have created yesterday a functional location, that's the connection object 89. That is our connection object. So in the bottom, you will see the place for writing the text or the notes. So if you come below here, we can see the notes. Connection object, general note, what SAP has given, and municipal details, what we have added. So like that, we can add any number of note IDs, and against each note ID, we can fill up the data. Okay, so it can be in the form of a text or some sentence, something like, our yellow stickers, what you use as a kind of a reminder. So this information can be written here, and it will get copied into your transactions like notifications or the service order. So you can select a particular line and then double click. Then it will open like a WordPad where you can write the data and then it will be stored. So text changes were done. So it is written here. So like that you can maintain the text and then save it. So basically it is a provision to add the text into the master data object. So this provision is available in almost every object. So if you go to contract account, CAA2, and then select the contract account, select any of the contract account, let's say for partner details, company code group, or company code group is 6000. So we have got contract account here 5301, and here we are maintaining what we call, if required, you can maintain the text here also, because this itself is a master data object and it has got a note object as well. So here you can see the text contract account, you can maintain the information. But in which transaction it will flow, we have to see. Maybe it will flow into our billing document. Okay. So basically text is a provision available to write our notes. If you maintain it in the master data, it will flow into transaction. And in SD, we can link notes from one transaction to another transaction. Okay. Wherever it is required, it will copy. So that's the provision. So like that, SAP has given the note object and note ID for each and every object in SAP system. This is how we have to adjust. Now comes the define the field selection for the connection object. Now when you create a connection object, we have data. Broadly, data can be divided into two sections: address independent data and address dependent data. Okay. Address dependent data means where you maintain municipal details, some additional supplementary field. And then in the case of non-address specific data, what is the description, search term? So lots of other fields will come into picture. So these are controlled, like how you do field status in other object. Every field on the screen has got a status. Field is either suppressed, or it is mandatory, or it is optional, or display mode. That's how we control. We have seen that in the case of business partner. It is also available in customer master. Likewise, we have the field selection for the connection object. Now, in every object like customer master or business partner, we have some predefined control. For example, in the case of connection, in the case of customer master, we create a customer master using OBD2, that is basically account group. So account group is used for controlling the field status. That means for a account group 0001, when you create a sold to party standard customer, what are the fields available? Basically, there are three data groups: sales area data, general data, company code data. In each group, there are multiple screens, and in each screen, you have got multiple fields. So every field is available as a radio button, and you can control whether a field is suppressed or whether it is optional or mandatory or display mode. But in case of connection object, device location, even premise, we are straight away creating the object. There is no further control. That means to create a premise, you don't have any other object to start with. Or to create a connection object, you don't have any other object to control it. So you go and create a connection object, directly it is creating a connection object. Whereas in the case of customer master, if you want to create, you have what you call account group. If you want to create a business partner, BP grouping is there. Depending on that, the number range and field selection will be adjusted. But in case of BP, we have seen we can control it by role type or based on the BP type, but there's no such additional object available here. So SAP provided some module programs, functional module programs to do the adjustment of the field status. So originally, when you see in versions like ECC 4.6 or 4.7, we used to run these functional module programs and then do the adjustment. Subsequently, SAP has given the transaction here in IMG. So using the transaction, we can control the field status. So if you go to define the field selection for the connection object, it is actually running a module program. So each field has got, four possibilities. Input, that means it is available as a standard data as optional. Input means it is available for entry, okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to enter. It is as good as optional. But the required entry means mandatory. And then display mode means it is not available for editing, but it can be seen. And hide is basically suppress. That field won't be available on the screen. Even though it is there in the database, for some reason we are not going to use that particular field. So it is not shown available for data entry on the particular screen. In addition, we have got one more control here, highlight. So if you highlight any particular field, it will be highlighted in blue color just to draw the attention of the user, saying that, this field may be important, they have to maintain. So these are the controls how we do the field status as far as the connection object is concerned. Same way, device location and also the installation premises, all the objects what we have in ISU. Now, except one thing, that's a maintenance plant. Now, maintenance plant is shown here input, but actually when you create maintenance plant, when you create a connection object, maintenance plant is by default, it is mandatory. Suppose if you go to create a connection object, go to technical master data, connection object, create, and then continue. So here you can see maintenance plant is mandatory. Even though in the customization we have shown it as available for input of data, it is behaving as a mandatory because SAP has done some coding for this particular field. That means whenever you create a connection object, the maintenance plant is mandatory. We have to maintain. Although you have not declared it as a mandatory field, it is by default mandatory because when you create a connection object, actually in the system it is going to create a functional location in the background, and functional location cannot be created without the maintenance plant because maintenance plant is a location in which we are going to install the equipment. But where is that location? That location is in the plant, in the maintenance plant. It can be physical maintenance plant or a virtual maintenance plant. Like our connection object is a functional location in a virtual maintenance plant where the particular geographical area itself is acting as a virtual maintenance plant, in which each and every connection object device location what to create will be acting as functional location. So that's the reason, although it is not declared here mandatory, in the particular data when you create, it will be shown as mandatory. But depending on a requirement, we can control the other objects. For example, name, okay? Name, we can say it is required entry, or description, okay? Again, there are multiple fields here. So which one will control, we will see. So description is mandatory, 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 okay? And also function location description. This is actual description. So these are not available. This is the one, function location description, required entry, and highlight means it will show in the blue color, okay? Now we don't want to see the political regional structure, so you can highlight or you can hide. Hide means it won't be shown on the screen. We are not going to use it. Regional structure grouping is mandatory, we have declared, because in future, when you are working in the work management, a automatic planning plant determination will happen based on the regional structure grouping. So for that purpose, we have declared this particular field as mandatory. So on case-to-case basis, we can control the field status, and this will show up when you try to maintain the object. So if you try to create a connection object, you will see the effect of the field status, what we have done. Go to technical master data, connection object, create. Now description is mandatory. It is showing here as a mandatory field, and it is showing in the blue color because we have highlighted. Name we have highlighted, and name is basically mandatory field we are given. Country as a postal regional structure data, it is mandatory by itself. Now maintenance plant is basically mandatory, regional structure group is mandatory, okay? And superior function location we have highlighted but not applicable here. So connection object and municipal details. So here essentially what you're saying, this is how we can do the field status for the connection object. And these are done through a module program. That module program is what is controlling the field status. But apart from this, only for the connection object, there is a separate field selection for the address data. Why this is not available for other object? Because connection object, once you maintain the address, that particular address is copied to your premise and also device location. So there's no separate address maintenance in the other objects. The address of the building connection object is address for the device location in the building and also premises. Okay. So here also we have got controls like required entry, field is proposed or it is not displayed. Okay. Proposed for the maintenance. Okay, or default display as proposed by the address management. Okay, default display as per proposed by address management means in the case of postal regional structure, the street, city, postal code, house number, country, these are proposed automatically because of the address management, because we activated the city file, so they will be shown. So field is only displayed, no maintenance, required entry. Field is proposed for the maintenance on the screen. So these are the settings what you can see. We have made name as a required entry here, okay? And then country required entry. And then likewise, if you say telephone is required entry, if you go to select the field is required entry, telephone number, and if you say it, now when you create the connection object, the telephone number also will become the mandatory field. So if you go to technical master data, go to connection object, create. So here you can see the mobile telephone number has become mandatory. That is a house, it is a society telephone number what you need to maintain, because for the connection object, it is a society number which is required. Okay, so that you can maintain here. So according to the status what you maintain against each field, it will control the field status on the screen. So this is the concept as far as the field status is concerned. So these are the small customization activities what you can do in the system, and the nature of customization is same. For instance, if you go to premises, there also you have got the field selection. So for instance, location supplement, premise, type of premise, okay. If you want type of premise mandatory, you can make it, and highlighter. So these are used in the control. So in the basic configuration, the number range is most important. All other things also can be adjusted according to the business requirement. But for each object, there are some additional configurations also can be done. For instance, in the case of premise, allocate divisions to equipment category, and then define reasons for supply guarantee. In the case of in the deregulated environment, the reasons for supply guarantee, installation type, voltage levels. So these are the additional data what you can customize. So we will see in future when you're working on the installation. When you're working on the equipment, we will also see what is the provision given here. Allocate divisions to equipment category. Okay. So we will see case to case basis wherever the object is coming. Over and above the standard setting, what are the additional settings can be done for each object. So in our understanding, we have worked with the three objects so far: connection object, device location, and the premise. But we are unable to do at this point of time the installation creation, because unless we set up the what we call billing master data, we cannot do the installation data. Okay, so we will take it up in the future when we start working with the billing master data. Once the prerequisite master data is ready, we should be in a position to create the installation. And once the installation is ready, we can do the device installation, and then we are ready for the move-in process to happen. Okay, in that sequence we have to maintain the data. Moving forward, in the SAP Technical Master Data, 4 are mandatory objects what we have to maintain: connection object, device location, premise, and installation. Apart from this, we also have 2 more additional objects. One is called connection, and the other one is called the point of delivery. The POD that is point of delivery, will come into discussion in future when you start working with the EDM or the smart meter. So at this point of time, we can discuss about the connection. Now, although connection is shown here in technical master data, it is not pertaining to ISU. Except connection, all the objects what you see here, they're all ISU objects, which means in some way or other, they have some ISU data because they are reflected here in the technical master data. They are all pertaining to ISU. They are all ISU objects. But the connection itself is not a ISU object. It's a purely the PM data, the plant maintenance data. Connection is the alternate name given to the equipment, the general equipment. Now, equipments are important master data what you maintain in plant maintenance. In plant maintenance, there are three very important objects: maintenance plant, functional location, and the equipment. So instead of calling it as an equipment, we call it here as a connection. So when you say connection, it is a general equipment for which you maintain the data, but it is also a non-ISU device. So in ISU, we have got two types of equipment: non-ISU device, which is nothing but the general equipment, and device, which is a industry specific equipment what you create in ISU. So it is called ISU equipment. Another alternative name for the ISU device is ISU equipment. So broadly speaking, equipments in case of ISU are of two types: general equipments, which are given the name as connections, and then ISU equipment. That means equipment is having all the data of a general equipment, but having some additional data pertaining to ISU. Thereby it will become an ISU equipment, and we call it as device. So you can say general equipment is a non-device equipment, whereas device is a ISU equipment. Now, what is the difference? We will see in the future. Now, coming to general equipment, that means anything that to install in the functional location, which is the connection object, is basically identified as a general equipment. That's why there is a categorization. Connection object is a functional location, and device location is also functional location. But in terms of equipment, they behave differently. When you have device location, we can only install devices. If you have created something as a device, that can be installed in the device location. But if you have created something as a general equipment, that is a connection, it can be installed in connection object acting as a functional location. Now, basically, what is functional location? Functional location is the physical location in the maintenance plant where equipments are installed. Let's say, for example, if you take a factory is a maintenance plant for us. In this factory, we have got so many equipments installed, but actually these equipments are installed in a particular functional location. The functional location can be like pre-production area, production area, assembly, testing, different kinds of area layouts will be available in the maintenance plant, that is a factory. And in each functional location, there can be one or many equipments. So the functional locations can be from the perspective of functionality. Like for example, a pump house. Pump house is a functional location where you got a pump, motor, and then connector, and then motor control device, piping. All these equipments are connected to each other together as an assembly in the pump house, which is from the functional point of view. Or the functional location can be from spatial arrangement. Let's say, for example, there is a school building. So in the entire school building, there are different areas. Like classroom is a functional location where you have got some equipment like fans, air conditioner, or projector. Or library is a kind of a functional location where you got light, fans, air conditioners, Xerox machine. Or cafeteria is a functional location where you got kitchen equipments. Okay, so each of them are from the spatial arrangement. We are looking from the spatial arrangement, the locations, and then identify the equipment. Or it can be like a process oriented orientation, like in a diary, you know, processing unit, which is basically like a factory. We have got various sections in the diary. Each one will act as a functional location. So functional location is basically we identify as a physical location where the equipment is installed. Because tomorrow when the maintenance has to happen, the person will give a notification to plant maintenance. So and so machine is not working. But the question will be, where is that machine working, in which maintenance plant, and in which particular functional location that equipment is located. So functional location provides the maintenance perspective, because ultimately we are doing the maintenance, it is for the equipment, but where it is physically located, that particular area is called as functional location. Now, in the case of ISU, we have connection object acting as a functional location. And what is a maintenance plant? The maintenance plant is a complete geographical area. Let's say Banjara Hills is the area in which we have got various buildings, and all these buildings are basically connection object. And each connection object is acting as a functional location. But why did you create as a functional location? With the anticipation that in that functional location we can install certain equipment. If there was no equipment, there was no need of maintaining any functional location. So every connection object is automatically maintained as a functional location, because it may be possible in future we can add some equipments in that particular functional location. The example of equipments what can be added here is a transformer. Okay, every building has got a transformer. That is a general equipment what we maintain, and this equipment is installed in the connection object as a functional location. Or it can be connecting cables, or it can be control devices. Like that, so many equipments may be possible, and all these are added into the functional location, acting as a connection object, acting as a functional location. So you can create the connection, equipment master record, and then you can record the installation in the functional location. But to create the equipment or the connection, what are the settings required? So you can go to IMG and then check in the plant maintenance what are the settings required. So we will go to IMG. So let's go to plant maintenance and customer service, and then go to master data in plant maintenance and customer service, technical objects, and then functional location we have seen already, where you maintain the structure indicator and also functional location category. Now we'll go to equipment category. Whenever you want to create an equipment master, we have to specify the equipment category. Now, equipment category we can define in the IMG configuration, but every equipment category what we create is assigned internally to a system defined equipment category. For instance, if you go to this particular activity, here we can see in the first column, the equipment category, what is defined by us as a consultant. Although here, everything we are not defined. In fact, we are not defined here. It is given by SAP. But each of the category has got a particular name. For example, equipment category is A, which means connection. Equipment category I means it is a IS equipment, that's a device. M is machines, P is production resource and tools, machines again, test and measurement equipment. Now upfront we have defined different category of equipments what you can create, but internally they are assigned to, this is our own description of the equipment category, but internally they are assigned to system defined category. So broadly speaking, there are three categories what we have: the machines, production resource and tools, and the customer equipment. Now machines means every equipment is a physical material. For example, transformer is a physical material, or any equipment for that matter is a physical material. But why you call it as equipment? Because it is giving some kind of service to us. Like in home, we are having air conditioners, television, refrigerators, washing machine. All these are basically physical materials, but they behave like equipment because we are utilizing them for some kind of service. And they themselves require the service on a regular basis. It can be like a breakdown service or warranty service or preventive maintenance. So these are the activities what to perform in the maintenance for the equipment. Now, when you create the equipment, it is having a system defined equipment category, but upfront you specify the equipment category what you define in the first column to create the equipment. Machines means basically these are the equipments what you can call in-house equipment. For example, we have got a factory or a processing unit in which we have installed various machines. These machines are basically our own machines what we are utilizing for a production purpose or processing requirement. Customer equipment means we have supplied the product to customer which is working now at the customer's location. For example, a television manufacturing company produces different types of models of television. They sell to the dealer and dealer will in turn sell to the customers. But the dealer will say, whatever service requirement is there, you have to contact the customer service number of the company. They will provide the service. For example, if you buy a mobile phone, the particular company is having the maintenance or the service centers in the city where we can go and hand over the mobile for the maintenance purpose. Okay, that is what kind of maintenance can be done. But there are many equipments which are at the customer's location. They have to be done at the site maintenance. For example, a television or air conditioner. It is the equipment what you supply to the customer and it is locating at the customer's location. So we will provide the service to the equipment which is working at the customer location. But in terms of the processing, we have to create the PM documents. Like whenever the customer will call and say our machine is not working, they actually intimate to us and you create a notification. The customer relationship manager or the assistant, what you call agents, will understand the requirement of the customer and create one document which is called a notification. Notification means you are informing the PM module there is a service requirement. Once a notification is received, the planning department, that the planning plant will basically create a service order. The service order is created with respect to notification and service order is scheduled when the person has to go, where the equipment is located, any spare parts required, how long it will take to do the servicing. All this information will be there in the service order. And based on the service order, the maintenance activity will happen. So we identified two types of orders, service order and work order. Work order is for the internal machines. Suppose you got a factory and in factory you got an equipment, it is not working. So the person who is using the equipment, that is the machine or the production manager, will make a notification on the planning department. So and so equipment, the machine is not working. And based on that, the planning plant will create a work order. And based on the work order, the activity will be done for the equipment. But whatever cost is arising for doing this kind of service is our own expenditure. Okay. So when you perform the work order, it will find out what is the cost involved and it will debit to a cost center. You can define the cost centers in the controlling area and you can identify this much expenditure we have done for attending to so and so machine in the factory. But in case of customers equipment, we create a service order. Service orders are typically meant to indicate the service is at the customer's place. We are attending to an equipment at the customer location. And whenever you perform the service activity, if it's any cost is involved, it may be billable. If it's a pre-warranty service, then it may not be billable, but otherwise it is billable. That means you can create a service order and based on service order, you can create a SD service order and then you can do the billing. Okay. So that's how we differentiate machines and customer equipment. Production resource and tools are basically the additional equipments what you require for doing the maintenance itself. like some calibration equipment, some pumps, gauges. So these are all instruments or equipments what you use while doing the production. For example, if you give a air conditioning machine is not working complaint, the person will come with a bag, and the bag is having various tools. Those tools are required to attend the machine. So such items are basically our equipments treated as production resource and tools. Okay. So broadly, these are the three category, but we can define our own equipment category. For example, a company is having equipment category as hydraulic machine, or let's say mechanical equipments, electrical equipments, electronic equipments, but they all belong to customer equipment as a category. So for creating different types of equipment, we can have the equipment category, but internally they are all assigned to a system defined category. And for each category, PM will customize what screens can be used, what fields are used, what kind of transactions are possible. So usually in a ISC project, there will be a dedicated PM consultant. They will take care of the all these, customization. Now, every equipment is identified by a number, which is called equipment number. Tomorrow, if we have a television working in the field, okay, that television has to be maintained in our database as an equipment. We identify it as an equipment, but how will you identify it? Of course, by a number. That's called equipment number. But you can also identify the equipment based on a material using a serial number. Okay. So basically, there are three important identifiers: material, serial number, equipment. The material serial number connection we will see when you're working in the device management. But at the moment, we will see material and equipment connection. Okay. Basically, material and equipment can be used together, or we can also use equipment directly. Material and equipment combination, or we can have the equipment directly. Let's say, for example, the building has got a transformer, but that transformer we have not supplied. As a distribution company, we are not supplied. The building construction company has itself purchased the transformer and it has been installed. But they are asking the electricity distribution company to maintain it. That means distribution company has not supplied it. It is something what is purchased by the building authorities directly, and they have installed it. But the maintenance activity, they are given it to distribution company. So distribution company is called saying that equipment is not working, transformer is not working, and then we go there and then do the maintenance. But it is created as a standalone equipment master record in our system. That means we create one equipment as a transformer and then give a number and then record the installation in a functional location. But when the material will come, suppose there are many construction companies who will say, you supply the transformer to us and then install and then provide the maintenance. That means we as a company are involved in procuring the material, that is basically transformer. So you're using some logistic functions like purchasing, inventory management, accounting for the material, requirement planning. So in such case, you have to create a material master record. Basically, what is the purpose of creating material master record? You are managing the material in various logistic functions like purchasing, production, sales order, delivery. If you want to do those processes, then you have to create a material. Suppose the business is having various capacity transformers, 11 kVA or 22 kVA, different transformers they are buying. And then these transformers are actually, they are sourced from a particular vendor. So distribution company will purchase them and supply them to the customer's location and install it. And the particular piece which is working at the customer location will be identified by equipment. But that equipment belongs to material. That means tomorrow 11 kVA we may have around 4,000 machines. All have been procured using the same material number. We have maintained one material master for 11 kVA, the transformer. We have got a material number for that. We have maintained purchasing data, accounting data, and then whatever data is required for logistic functions, we have maintained. So we first create a material master, and then whenever equipment is created for that material, we say this equipment belongs to so and so material number. That means 11 kVA, 4,000 machines are working in the field, and each of the 4,000 piece is identified by an equipment number. Okay, but what is the need to create the equipment as a material in our system? Because we are doing some logistic functions like purchasing, inventory management, accounting. But suppose equipment is directly purchased by the building, then for us there's no need to create a material. That's the whole idea between an equipment being created standalone or equipment is referring to a material master. So every equipment what you create has got an identification number, and that number will come from the number range. Go to define the number ranges. Here number ranges are not assigned directly to equipment category. We create a group and we maintain number range for the group, and under the group you can have one or many equipment category. For instance, we have got three equipment category: hydraulic machines, mechanical machines, and electrical machines. These are different three categories, but we'll create one group called customer equipment category, and under that we assign all the three category. That means whether you create a hydraulic machine or a mechanical equipment or a electrical equipment, they all belong to the same number range, and the numbers will be internal number ranges. It will take in sequence. Okay, so you can go to groups and then create one group if you want. Insert. We are creating a group for 6,000, and from number. Already some numbers have been used. So the available number range is 10,800 to 19,999. Let's say 10,899 is the number range. We have added and then insert. So we have created one number range group as 6,000. But under this I can add one normally equipment category. Now just now we have seen A is a category used for creating the connections, but A is already assigned somewhere. You can see here A is sitting here, HBVAN. Somebody has created a group. Under that this category is available. Okay, in order to assign this equipment category to our group, what you should do, select first the group and then go to double click this or select this, select and then assign. Okay, so now the A is coming under 6,000. Okay, that means the equipment category A belongs to group 6,000, and for 6,000 this is the number range what we have got, 10,800 to 10,899. Now under this particular group 6,000 I can assign many more equipment category depending on our requirement. Now how to create connection? We can create a connection directly as an equipment standalone and then install it in a functional location. Or you can first create a material and then go on creating the equipment, and after creating the equipment you can assign it to the material. So today we will see just to create an equipment standalone. Tomorrow we will see how to create material specific equipment. So go to the technical master data, select the connection, create. SAP has given the transaction here. Now this connection you can create from here. You can also create from the plant maintenance transaction. If you go to S000, that is general SAP, if you go to logistics, and then if you go to plant maintenance, management of technical objects, equipment, IE01 create. But when you create, you have to select the equipment category. That is basically A. A is basically the connection. Okay. But instead of doing this activity in the plant maintenance, we are doing it in ISU, and by default SAP has given the equipment category as A. That's the connection. So we don't have to select the equipment category. It is automatically selected as A. There is a equipment category A. A is basically for us a connection. So continue, and then we can give what is the name. We can say transformer 11 kV, and then location. It is located in the maintenance plant 6001, and then If you are going to maintain serial number, you can also do the serialization, but the serialization concept I will explain separately when you're working in the device management, and then you can save it. So once you save it, it will give a equipment number starting with 10,703. Okay. Now, this particular equipment, you have to go in the change mode. There's no separate transaction code here to add the equipment. That means you first create the equipment master, but there's no transaction code available saying that install this equipment in so and so functional location. You have to do it within the equipment master record itself. So 10,703 is equipment number, go to the structure, change the installation location, add the functional location. We are installing it in the building connection object acting as a functional location, and that number is 89. Continue and then save it. That means we have created a general equipment and it has been added in the connection object acting as a functional location. 89 is the functional location, residential apartment, and this data will be updated in the connection object acting as a functional location. So if you go to connection object and then change and then enter the connection object as 89, okay, so which is basically, created telephone number made mandatory, some number we are giving. Now if you go to functional location and then see the structure, we can see our equipment is installed here. Okay, that means you are adding the equipment directly in the functional location in the plant maintenance. But since the particular functional location is also acting as a connection object, it is shown here that this equipment is working in so and so functional location. Okay, so a connection is a general equipment which has got no ISA data, and you can create an equipment as a standalone equipment and install it, or you can first create a material. Because we create material because we are going to process equipment as a material in our logistic functions like purchasing, inventory management, accounting, requirement planning. In that case only you have to create the material master. So first create a material master, and every time you create the equipment, you can assign the equipment to that particular material. Okay, that's the concept. So tomorrow we'll see how to create a material master and then maintain the equipment. Okay. After that, we'll start working with the device management. We'll start with the device management. So you're done for today. Tomorrow I'll continue. Anything you would like to ask? Is
No,
it
sir.
clear? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.